Do you recall the worst of the physical that you experienced? Because that's obviously another part of it. Was there an instance or instances where you can kind of recall specifically what was the hardest of that part to go through?
Yeah, so it was through one of our gangs in New Zealand. I won't name them because they're still active today. But my father leased, it was not uncommon for me to be leased to this gang. And so it was an initiation ceremony, and I was left there overnight. So what my father did was said to the gang leader, I'll pick her up in the morning. And because it was an initiation, so it's a newly blooded gang member, has to prove their worth. So what they did was they got me in and they put me outside, but they put me what you call on the block, which is hands and feet tied to corners of a plank, which was laid across a table. And he then started to rape me, which is bad enough with many of them just watching. But then something in him changed and he started to pummel me. Now, I'm tied. I'm an underweight 12-year-old by this time. I'm terrified. I'm defenceless. By the time he finished and everyone else had a go, I was unconscious. Next morning when my father came to pick me up, he said to the gang leader, well, you might want to be careful what you do to her. And I thought, is he actually sticking up for me for a change? And the next words were, because she won't look for you, as good for you next time.
Really?
Yeah, yes.
Because, this would be in the 60s, right, and 70s?
When I was 12, it was 1972, yeah.
Because you look at a lot of gang culture today and a lot of them have rules where it's like that sort of stuff will get you unalived or tossed out of the gang. What kind of people were doing this back then?
I don't know, and I to be fair, it's not just across the gangs. This is as high a level as you can get, down to it's up and down and across all levels of society, cultures. I've often been asked, describe what a typical pedophile or predator looks like. Liam, they look like me and they look like you. They could be the most educated, considered kindest, most generous person in the world, but they're interested in abusing children or trafficking children. So, but all I'm saying is that did happen. I don't know what happens now in gang life.
Someone like that would get unalived.
Yeah. Well, no, that was
and for the better.
Well, I was brought in for that ceremony, and it wasn't the only time I was there. So yeah, that was a thing that was happening, and there were other children as well. Yeah.
And so and thank you for sharing, because I know this is you're very brave and strong-willed to do this, because I can't imagine how hard this would be. So yeah, it's very appreciated. So you talked about how this does cross different parts of society, and people may think, oh, that's terrible, it's a gang, but that could never happen with a judge or a police officer or a doctor or a lawyer. But having consumed a lot of your content and researched a lot of your background, apparently it's quite to the contrary. And one of the things I heard you talk about was that there was a lot of these upper societal groups, and it would happen within there. So to the extent that you're comfortable, do you want to maybe take the audience a little bit into what you can recall from when you were exposed to these higher level groups of people who some viewers might not even know that this is a thing?
Yeah, and I think, and that's really important, and what I'm about to say may shock some people, and I'm just going to say it this way. Freemasons were involved. They were a group I was trafficked to repetitively and regularly. And now I am not saying, so disclaimer please, I am not saying that every Freemason is a child predator or pedophile. I am saying at different levels within the hierarchy, there are groups that do abuse children, and that's who I had the misfortune
And
of being involved in.